Hello and welcome to the Justice Factor, coming to you live from our studios here in Hyde Park, Johannesburg. Zimbabwe will hold elections on July 31 to end President Robert Mugabe and Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai's power-sharing government. How free and fair will this election be? What will Zimbabwe look like after July 31? We'll be joined by independent political analyst Moeletsi Mbeki later tonight to answer some of these questions. After that discussion, we'll give you our winner and loser of the week. But first, we speak to the two main parties in Zimbabwe to discuss some of the issues around this election. My guests are Kumbirai Muchemwa, spokesperson of the MDCT in South Africa, and Psychology Maziwisa, spokesperson for ZANU-PF. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. I have to start. It looks like it's a dead loss. The voters' roll psychology hasn't been given to all the opposition parties. This afternoon, Tendai Biti saying, no way, we still don't have this. So he thinks, the voters' roll is gone. Arrest, Morgan Komichi, threats, Tsvangirai will be arrested. It's not free and fair, is it?
It's absolutely free and fair. If you look at the situation in Zimbabwe, the political situation is very peaceful. ZEC is an independent body that is going to be in charge of these elections.
It can't be free and fair, psychologists. Think about it. 1 million dead voters on the voters' roll that has been seen. These guys don't know if indeed those million dead voters or people who've left are still on that voters' roll. You're panicking.
No, but that is not true. Have you seen the dead voters on the voters' roll? This is propaganda by the MDCT. Let's be clear. There has been a unity government over the last 4 years which has been entrusted with the responsibility of making sure that we have conditions that warrant an election that is free and fair.
Has given you a voters' roll and hasn't given him a voters' roll, according to Tendai Biti this afternoon.
That's not factual. That is propaganda. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is going to distribute voters' rolls to the different various polling stations for purpose of inspection by the different political parties. The fact of the matter is you do not judge the freeness or fairness of an election.
In 48 hours, you expect them to have verified the names of all these voters on these voters' rolls.
That is ample time, and that is obviously due to constraints that came about because Tendai Biti was not releasing the necessary funding for the election. But that money is now there. The fact of the matter, can I continue?
You are a propagandist, he says. Plus, you have ample time to inspect the voters' roll. What do you say to that?
Well, I'd like to thank him for calling me a propagandist. He was making excuses all the while he was talking here. There are 116,000 people who are over 100 years old on that voters' roll. What propaganda is that? If he says the voters' roll will be distributed at polling stations, how do you verify the information when people are already voting? Is that propaganda?
Well, I think it's a fair question to ask.
Look, but people are going to go to the different voting stations, polling stations with their identity cards. There are different polling agents for the different political parties that are going to make sure that they oversee the conduct of this election. We've got SADC observer mission teams there. We've got the AU observer mission teams. The fact of the matter, Justice, is that this election is not going to be decided by how many people are on the voters' roll. It's going to be decided on the basis of what policies the different political parties have pursued over the last 4 years.
That may well be so, but the truth of the matter is that you have constituencies where there are more voters than actual inhabitants in some of those wards and areas. You can't say that it looks to many people outside of Zimbabwe and inside Zimbabwe as if ZANU-PF, which seems to be running the ZEC, actually is just preparing to clean up.
Firstly, let me say that it's not accurate that ZANU-PF is running the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission was a body that was put together as a result of a wide, extensive consultative process. The chairperson is a very professional lady and a retired judge, a High Court judge president for that matter, was appointed by President Robert Mugabe acting in consultation with Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai. The same applied with the different commissioners.
Respond to that?
I think psychology has come to be comical here.
In the first he's making some good points. He's saying a professional is running this election. The President Mugabe said on Sunday, you're being a crybaby, and maybe you are because you're not responding to what he's saying.
Well, in the first instance, he says Justice Rita Makarawa is retired. She's not. She was a sitting judge before she moved to the ZEC. One of the conditions which the MDC wanted was reforms of the ZEC secretariat. Now, for example, the drivers on the ZEC were civil servants. Now, what the military has done is it has replaced them with military drivers. Free and fair? As at this stage, not a chance.
What else do you think would make this not free and fair?
The voter registration process was deliberately cumbersome. Voter registration stations were closed when people were in the queue.
But to be fair to him, you too, his own members, have to go through exactly the same process that your members have to go through. Why is it cumbersome for you if it's not cumbersome for him?
Exactly, because ZANU-PF believes that the MDC is strong in the towns only. The MDC is strong countrywide. So what they did is they made the process complicated in the towns and very easy in the rural areas.
Do you agree with that? I mean, I've seen ZANU-PF rallies and images from those rallies. They're pretty packed.
Well, if pretty packed with half of them being school children. Robert Mugabe held a rally at Njimbo, at a school. Robert Mugabe forced a school to be closed, took those schools from class and made them attend the rally. So what is that? And those rallies resemble funerals.
Maziwisa, what do you say to these...
It's and I'm sorry to say this on international television. I think this is absolute nonsense. It does not reflect the fact on the ground. The bottom line is this, Justice. In politics, it's not an unusual phenomenon to have people raising all kinds of red flags and crying foul. I think let's be clear here. The MDCT has spent 4 years of its time in the coalition government fooling around. They've abused public funds for private purposes. Morgan Tsvangirai said he was a humble guy. He lives in a $4 million house in Harare. He has created more babies than he has created jobs. It's very clear relative to our record that these guys are clear about the fact that they are going to lose the July 31st election. It sounds like you're going
the dirty route, but I'll come back to the candidates. He makes a point that actually what are you complaining about? Your leader is the prime minister. One of your leaders is the finance minister. You're not taking responsibility for the fact that you are in a government of national unity with the ZANU-PF.
Thanks, Justice. ZEC is nominally an independent body. It should be an independent body, except that members of the military have taken the ZEC over. So how does a party in government run what should be an independent body? ZANU-PF has used its machinery in the...
Let me put it the other way. You guys have done, Tendai Biti has done a fantastic job of turning around the Zimbabwe economy, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Oh, so you're prepared to take the positives and not the negatives?
No. We're prepared to take the negatives as well. The unity government hasn't achieved as much as it should have. That's a given. People know
you haven't had any say in the organization and running of these elections and handing them over to independent bodies?
We have participated in the making of the constitution, in the changing of electoral laws and so on.
Are you prepared to accept the outcomes of this election if on July 31 the EC comes back to you and says the MDC fair and square has won this election?
I think the question is the MDCT prepared to accept
No,
the
but the question is, are you prepared? Because in 2008 they won 47%, you got 43%. They were beaten up, they were arrested, they were hit.
No, but that was not sufficient
enough. By all accounts, you didn't accept the outcome of a free and fair election.
Let me say this. Firstly, that was not sufficient enough to warrant the majority that is required by the Constitution.
And the period between that and the runoff, you beat them up and arrested them.
No, we didn't. Secondly, it's improbable to speak of an MDCT victory. People participate in elections on the basis of what they are voting for. And the fact of the matter is the people of Zimbabwe have seen over the last 4 years that the MDCT is a party that does not advance the interests of the people of Zimbabwe. It is a party that promised to create 1 million jobs in 2008, 2009, but which 4 years down the line...
You were part of that government, so you can't blame them.
No, but we created jobs through the indigenization program.
Psychology says to you, your candidate has personal scandals, has not taken responsibility for his actions in government, lives in a $4 million house. What do you say to that?
Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai lives in a government house. It's not his personal house. Robert Mugabe lives in a house that he built for 26 million. His wife built Gracelands about 10 years back, which maybe had 100 rooms.
You're a fine one to talk about him then.
That's not factual. I think what is now a matter of public record is that Morgan Tsvangirai stays in a $4 million house. And to put it in context, that's
and
40
the president of
million.
ZANU-PF stays in a government house that costs $26 million.
That's not true. That's not true. We would like him
but
to...
is it a government house that Morgan Tsvangirai lives in?
It is a government house, but he was given a loan.
That's the answer you're looking for.
He was given a loan.
No, that's the answer you're looking for. It's a government house,
He was
isn't it?
given an option to purchase that house.
It's a government house.
And he agreed that he was going to fork out $4 million of his own personal money to purchase that house.
But is it a government house? Is it a government house? You said yes.
Psychology, I need to ask you this. You wrote about Robert Mugabe that he is, before you went and joined ZANU-PF, he's a power-hungry thug motivated by greed and consumed by evil. Now, what's changed? If this is the man, then surely the people of Zimbabwe should not vote for him.
When circumstances change, my opinion changes. Does your opinion change when circumstances change? The bottom line is this. When I was in South Africa, I was depending on international media that was demonizing President Robert Mugabe. I moved back to Zimbabwe, looked at the facts, and considered that President Mugabe had been demonized for no apparent reason. President Robert Mugabe is a principled leader who has stood for the interests of his people.
Shouldn't he make way for young people like you? He's been in power for 33 years.
Look, I can tell you this. We count it our privilege and joy to have President Robert Mugabe as our candidate. He represents the interests of the people.
Well, I have ambition to be president of Zimbabwe one day. He doesn't. He lets a 90-year-old. Don't you have ambition in psychology to be president?
But your leader has been in power for 14 years at MDC, and yes, you don't have much to show for it. You haven't won an election, and you seem to like you're going to lose this one.
We won the 2008 election, didn't we? This is what brought us into the unit government.
Okay, gentlemen, we've run out of time, I'm afraid. So I'm going to give you 20 seconds each to just give me, what does MDC-T have to offer the people of Zimbabwe on July 31?
The MDC has got a comprehensive plan to turn Zimbabwe from what it is to a much better country. Jobs, health, education, social welfare, reformation of the justice system. In other words, Zimbabwe turns from being a pariah into a country that takes its place on the international
psychology, forum. I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, ZANU-PF is the People's Party. It has been a consistent party with a consistent record.
No, I'm talking about the future, not the past.
Well, we empowered the people of Zimbabwe through education, through the land reform. But what we are going to do now, we're going to take back the economy. We're going to make sure that the natural resources of the country of Zimbabwe benefit the people of Zimbabwe.
So you're going to continue with nationalization?
We're going to continue. That is the right thing to do. It's also the smart thing to do, because we're independent.
It's actually indigenization.
Okay, gentlemen, I have to cut you off there. Psychology, one quick question. You work for Sevia Kasikuwere. Are you funding Julius Malema as alleged by Baba Jukwa?
I work for ZANU-PF, and we have nothing to do with Julius Malema's political
Not
party.
anymore.
Absolutely nothing.
Not anymore.
Kumbirai, gentlemen, thanks so much. It's been lovely having you here. And good luck on July 31.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justice.
After the break, we ask Mwele Mbeki what the future holds for Zimbabwe. Stay with us.